So now we're moving into the foot, and the most common pathology that plagues the foot is what's called turf toe. So when we think about the great toe, essentially it can move in many different directions, but the most range of motion that we're allowed in the foot and the toe is with toe extension and then toe flexion. When we're speaking specifically about the pathology of turf toe, what we're thinking about is a patient who's had a hyperextension moment. Does that make sense, guys? I hope so. So with that said, the goal of turf toe can be twofold. It could be very well to prevent extension, right? So we're going to try to limit that. Or it could be to just keep the toe in a neutral position. So the patient can't move into extension and they can't move into a flexion moment. So I'm going to show you both tape jobs, but I'm going to start with the idea that we want to limit toe extension first, okay? So the first thing that we do is we spray our patient down, make sure their foot and their toe is really, really sticky. And then we're going to be using two different size tapes. The first size is a 1.5 inch roll, and then the second size is a 1 inch roll. This 1.5 inch roll of tape will be used for anchor points, and that is it. So again, just like with the ankle and the Achilles tendon, we're going to start right at that base of the fifth, and we're going to do a dorsum and a plantar strip. So now we have our anchor point, and this becomes important because it is the point at which all of our strips for the toe will actually anchor off of. So then I transition and I switch to my 1 inch tape, and I'm going to be using this 1 inch tape kind of like I did with the Achilles tendon. What we're going to do is first of all use this 1 inch tape to create an anchor on the toe. So this anchor becomes important because it becomes the distal anchoring point for our strips. Once I have my two anchors, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure, okay? And then once I've measured, just like the Achilles tendon, I'm going to create 3 strips of similar length. Now, if the goal is to prevent extension of the toe, what we're going to do is move that patient down into a flex position. And so what we want to do is use that distal anchor strip and pull that toe down into flexion. The next strip, just like with the Achilles, is going to start medially. And again, we're going to pull that toe down into flexion. And that last strip is going to start more laterally. And again, the goal is to pull that toe down into flexion. Once I have my 3 strips or my check rein, then I want to do what I always do, which is close off my tape job. And then to test our tape job, what we'll have our patient do is go ahead and try to extend that toe. So you can see there's this limitation in toe extension, which is what we want. So you might be asking, well, how do we do a tape job where the toe is in neutral? So it can't flex and it can't extend. So I'm going to show you that next. So what we would do is if we wanted to tape the toe into a neutral position is we would create 3 more strips. And we would lightly pull, not too much into extension, but lightly. And as you can tell from the top of this tape job, we have a check rein. Does everybody see that? If the tape is long, remember I showed you the trick of folding that tape over and closing off. And now we have a tape job which doesn't allow the patient to go into flexion. Go ahead and flex for me, patient. And doesn't allow the patient to go into extension. Okay, so if the goal is to keep the foot in neutral, you want check reins on both the dorsum of the foot and the plantar surface of the foot. But if the goal is just to limit extension, then you want check reins on that plantar surface of the foot.